All right, testing 1, 2, 3. Beautiful. All right. Shalom. First and foremost, let's start this lesson. Let me give all praises and honor and glory to Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shai Bahashem, Rafa Kadash. All right, double honor to the apostles, bishops, and elders of Great Millstone who rule well and have taught me this word in truth and sincerity. All right, and peace and mercy to the whole full elect, starting with 144,000. That's also pushing this word in truth and sincerity across the full corners of the earth. All right, this is your fellow servant Amath of GMS Toronto. All right, coming at you again with another live lesson. And this is going to be an MOTB update. MOTB update. Be not ignorant of Satan's devices. All right, be not ignorant of Satan's devices. And this precept that the brother here from GMS Watchman, Talaki brother, I forgot your name, but this brother from the main camp in New York. Okay, and he has this clip here, and it says, "Listen to what this man says about the microchip MOTB." But this is a beautiful precept he has up here, Jeremiah 7:25. Ever since your ancestors left Egypt, I have been sending my servants, the prophets, to speak for me. Okay. Let me see if there's more on that actually. I got two precepts I'm going to pull up. But let me see if there's more on that. Jeremiah. All right, Jeremiah. Oh, wow. Yeah, there's a bit more. Let me get this in NLT too. So Jeremiah 7:22, he says, "When I led your ancestors out of Egypt, it was not burnt offerings and sacrifices I wanted from them." Okay? Because the burnt offerings and sacrifices shall come out of a repentant heart, right? But they came out of a non-repentant heart. So Israel had it backwards. Okay? So it says, this is what I told them. Obey me, and I will be your power, and you will be my people. Do everything as I say, and all will be well. Okay? Fear the Lord, right? Just tied to obedience. But my people would not listen to me. They kept doing whatever they wanted, following their stubborn desires of their evil hearts. The stubborn desires of their evil hearts. They went backwards instead of forward. And this is what our people are doing today. The majority of our people, the nation of Israel, are doing today. They're going backwards. Okay, instead of looking forward and seeing what's coming ahead. What's coming down the pipe? All right, is great evils and perils, perilous times. Okay, and these events are going to take place. All right, so that people will beg for the microchip. And if you're not rooted, all right, in the truth of Yahweh Shai, you're going to be uprooted and overtaken. Okay, so verse 25 it says, "From the day your ancestors," this is the precept he had, but in a different version, CEV. So in the NLT it says, "From the day your ancestors left Egypt until now, I have continued until now, today." Okay, 2026, March 12th. I have continued to send my servants the prophets day in and day out. Okay, day in and day out, which means we got to be doing lessons daily. Okay, at least 3 times a week, but daily. That's what you want to aim for. Anyways, it says, "But my people have not listened to me, nor even tried to hear." Right? They didn't even consider. Okay, even consider what the prophets are saying. But guess what? Two-thirds of Israel will consider what the prophets are saying, which are the words of Yahweh Shai, when it's too late. Okay? And at that point, like I said, it's going to be too late. The doors of mercy have been closed. My people have not listened to me or even tried to hear, They have been stubborn and sinful, even worse than their ancestors. Yeah. Oh, shit. This is the worst generation. Um, it's 27. It says, "Tell them all this, but do not expect them to listen. Shout out your warnings, but do not expect them to respond." Wow. Um, yeah, I'll continue. I got a clip. I'm gonna play his clip. I don't make this too long. It says here, verse 28, "Say to them, this is the nation whose people will not obey the Lord Yahweh, their power, all right, and who refuse to be taught." Okay, and this is what we're telling you. That's why we rebuke 2/3 of our people, man. Okay, truth has vanished from among them. It is no longer heard on their lips, starting with the leaders. All right, so let's go play this clip. You know,
call, "Hey boss, don't microchip me." So there have been proposals that employers, this starts in other states, are asking, it always starts out voluntary, for employees to have a microchip under their skin, like in their hand, let's say, so that you just wave it in front of a reader and it's you.
another good precept he has here, Ezekiel 33, verse 3. And when this cometh to pass, right? The MOTB, lo, it will come. Then shall they know that a prophet hath been among them. That's right. Okay. And as he has
For
here,
security.
the year of damn, why is this thing in my way? The year of sellouts, the year of apostasy, sellouts, and agents, right?
Or getting into a building or accessing certain areas in front of a reader to have a microchip under their skin, like in their hand, let's say. Proposals that employers, this starts in other states, are asking, it always starts out voluntary, for employees to have a microchip under their skin, like in their hand, let's say. So that you just wave it in front of a reader and it's used for security or getting into a building or accessing certain areas. It's supposed to be really convenient.
And this is happening in Alabama, Montgomery, if I'm not mistaken.
But of course, this idea horrifies a lot of people. So a bill has been introduced by Representative Breanne Thomas she represents Seattle and Vashon. She's a Democrat. Her bill is HB 2303, and it would, very simple, prohibit any employer from requesting, requiring, or coercing employees to have a microchip implanted under their skin. This is an obvious idea, if you ask me. And the problem with these proposals, and again, this has started in some other states, is it starts out voluntary, and then before you know it, the boss is saying, no, it's mandatory. The other part of coercion is they'll say something, the company, let's say, sometimes the government does this. Hey, we're not forcing you to do anything. We're just going to make your life really, really difficult until.
Yeah, it's true. And even though this woman is proposing a bill, here he has it says Alabama becomes third state in the U.S. to introduce microchip bill 2023, right? And she's trying to propose against it, but she's not going to do shit. Okay, first of all, you can't do anything against the truth before it. It's prophecy. And second of all, even if she does propose it and it does go through, remember what they did with the poison dart? It takes 10 years to make one of those things. And then because of a national crisis or global crisis, it was expedited. There was a term called damn, authority something, where you can basically speed along the process, all right, for the sake of a global crisis. It's the exact same thing they can do here. Okay.
you comply. So these mandates, whether it's in the private sector or the public sector, are always suspicious when they.
Matter of fact, Slack, I know I keep pausing it, but let me just rolling through the spirit. So whatever precept comes to my mind, I gotta bring it out. Let's go to Isaiah 10 and 1, straight to the point. It says, "Woe unto them that decree unrighteous decrees, and that right grievousness which they have prescribed." All right. To turn aside the needy from judgment and to take away the right from the poor of my people, right? And the world. Okay. But starting with Israel, that widows may be their prey and that they may rob the fatherless. Okay. And that's exactly what they're going to do with these bills as he's going into it. So let me backtrack what he's saying, and then
Government does this. Hey, we're not forcing you to do anything. We're just going to make
right,
your life really, really difficult until you comply. So
exactly.
these mandates, whether it's in the private sector or the public sector, are always suspicious when they start out supposedly voluntary. Usually there's some kind of suggested coercion behind it. So Representative Thomas is getting ahead of this problem. We commend her for it. And this should be a very popular bipartisan idea. It is certainly something that Washington Policy Center would support. And we'll see how that bill does. It also brings up this apocalyptic future of science fiction that you hear about, where people are being turned into robots or, advance and be mechanized.
And he's saying it so casually, like, "Oh, this brings about this apocalyptic future where people are gonna be turned into robots." Da, 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 da. Fucking idiot.
The more digital technology we have, the better. It's the first step to a brave new world. I know that this all sounds kind of over the top, but we have seen that ideas start out small and then they tend to grow. It reminded me, from a policy point of view, of the original thinking of the Social Security number that was enacted first in the 1930s. It only applied to people who were in the workforce, number one. And number two, the government only assigned you a Social Security number when you got your first job. So when you entered the workforce, you got a number. Well, here we are today in the modern world, and Social Security numbers are now issued mandatorily to every baby that's born in the United States. So
Yes. So he's right. Once again, I'll read an NLT now. It says, "What sorrow awaits the unjust judges and those who issue unfair laws? They deprive the poor of justice and deny the rights of the needy among the people. They prey on widows and take advantage of the orphans," right? And let's go from here to Psalm 64. Okay. Because, these devils think no one sees them, and people see them, but at the same time, they don't really care now because he knows he has a short time. They're going to come down with great wrath. And these people are completely bugged out. So what the hell do they know, anyways? Right? I mean, when they're forced with no food, no shelter, all right, imminent death by their neighbor or an animal, whatever natural disaster is taking place at that time, they're gonna go begging for the chip. Okay, this is why you got to be rooted in your relationship with Yahweh Shemel Shai. You get to know that Yahweh Shemel Shai is going to take care of you no matter what, even if you face death. That's the seriousness of what we're involved in. Okay, because this is going to be crazy. Okay, verse 64, Psalm 64 and 2. Hide me, right, from the secret counsels of the wicked, from the insurrections of the workers of iniquity. Okay, how are we hidden? First and foremost, we're hidden in this truth, this wisdom, knowledge, and understanding, so that these events won't catch us unaware. Okay, this is why we constantly bring out, all right, do electronic epistles, all right, on this matter, this subject, the Motb. This is 2 Corinthians 2 and 11. Lest Satan should get an advantage of us, right, to catch you while you're slipping, catch you while you're asleep. For we are not ignorant of his devices. You're not, and that's the only way to not be ignorant of his devices, Salaki, I'm a little excited, is to stay upon your watch. Be in the spirit, pray, do the work, stay in the spirit. Okay. 2 Thessalonians 2, all right, and 1 in the NLT says, "Now, dear brothers and sisters, let us clarify some things about the coming of our Lord Yahweh Shai Hamashiach, and how we will be gathered to meet him." And mind you, it says for subheading, events prior to the Lord's second coming. You see? So it's prophetic. Verse 2, it says, "Don't be easily shaken or alarmed by those who say that the day of the Lord Yahweh has already begun. Don't believe them, even if they claim to have had a spiritual vision." And this was talking about back then. Okay. Back then, they were saying that the day of the Lord had already came, it already happened. Okay. And this, that, and the third. And they were basically turning away a lot of believers and whatnot, a lot of Israelites back then. But this was talking about our time now. 2,000 plus years later, now this is happening. Because look what he says. He says, a um, even if they claim to have had a spiritual vision, a revelation, or a letter supposedly from us, right? Agents, agents, man. Oh, I got a letter from Paul. He told me, this is it. It's done. It's done. Right? Verse 3, it says, "Don't be fooled by what they say, for that day, okay, will not come until there is a great rebellion against Yahweh Bashim Shai, and the man of lawlessness is revealed. You see, that's happening right now. So the time that he was talking about is now. We're in that time now. It's not 30 years from now. It's not 10 years from now, or whatever. It is now. Okay? The one who brings destruction. Come on, man. Who's bringing destruction right now? Who's bringing destruction? Okay? Look at this. If you don't know, look at this. There's more clues. He will exalt himself and defy everything that people call God and every object of worship. He will even sit in the temple of Yahweh Bashim Shai, claiming that he himself is Yahweh Bashim Shai, God, right? He paints himself, he paint the Heavenly Father as himself. He paint Yahweh Shai as himself, the angels as himself, the prophets as himself, every historical person as himself. These devils are cooked. Okay? Going back to Psalm 64, I'm gonna skip down. I'm just moving in the spirit. Psalm 64 and 5, it says, they encourage themselves in an evil matter. They commune, laying snares privately. They say, who shall see them? Right? NLT, it says, they encourage each other to do evil and plan how to set their traps in secret. Who will ever notice, they ask. They plot their crimes. They say, we have devised a perfect plan. Yes, the human heart and mind are cunning, right? But look what the Lord said he'll do. I'm going to go back to the clip. Don't worry. I'm going to go back to the clip. What is that, Job? I think 19 and 20. So it devised a perfect plan, right? But damn, I always have trouble finding this one precept every time. No, it has to be Job 20. Yes. Yes. Okay, beautiful. I'll start at 20. Job 20 and 20 says, surely he shall not feel quietness in his belly, right? In his mind. It's talking about his mind. He's stressing out. These devils are stressing out. All right. This is why the scriptures say, for he knoweth that he had a short time, he's gonna come down with great wrath. Okay. He shall, roughly paraphrasing, he shall not save of that which he desired. There shall none of his meat be left. Therefore shall no man look for his goods. And this is the point. Yeah, NLT is nice actually. Let me start from verse 20. NLT says, they were always greedy and never satisfied. Nothing remains of all the things they dreamed about. Nothing is left. Esau, you're finished, man. You taught weekly are fucking done. You're done. You're done. You are done. Thus saith the Lord Yahweh. Okay, and the son Yahweh Shah. Nothing is left after they finish gorging themselves. Therefore, their prosperity will not endure. Yeah, you're finished. Okay. Verse 22 is the point. In the fullness of his sufficiency, he shall be in straits, difficulty. Okay. Because again, I told you, I mentioned, or in the last video I did, I mentioned how these nations, you notice how China and Russia haven't really gotten involved with Iran, even though they're allies. It's because, at the end of the day, these nations want America, all right, to be destroyed and depleted and to be weakened, so that in this new digital system that's being brought about, they want to have the control, all right, the monopoly, the hegemony over this new digital system. No longer do they want America to have control like they did of the old system, which was a fiat system. Okay, so they're all in cahoots with it, but where they're divided is who's going to have, all right, the monopoly, the control over the new system. So in the fullness of their sufficiency, he shall be in straits. Every hand of the wicked shall come upon him. You see? So these nations are gonna be like, you know what? So why that's why Apostle Heart, what he says is in the spirit, and it's on point, where he says, once they make them chip mandatory, you can expect the missiles to destroy America coming weeks, months after that. Okay, because he's gonna try to chip every single person on the planet, and if you don't get down, if you don't get down, lay down. If you don't take this chip, then we're gonna kill you. Okay, eventually that's what it's gonna get to. As this Edomite was going to, how they'll just make your life difficult. You won't be able to do certain things, right? Um, NLT says, in the midst of plenty, they will run into trouble and be overcome by misery, and those miseries are gonna be those nuclear missiles. Something's gonna happen where they're gonna piss off these nations, where they're gonna be like, you know what, fuck it, and they're gonna send nuclear missiles over here, man, and throughout the earth, but mainly over in Babylon the Great, aka America. Okay, here's the point, more so the point. When he is about to fill his belly, that's him chipping everybody, right? Yahweh Bashimashai shall cast the fury of his wrath upon him and shall rain it upon him while he is eating, chipping people. That's him eating. Okay. NLT says, may Yahweh Bashimashai give them a belly of trouble. May Yahweh Bashimashai rain down his anger upon them. When they try to escape the iron weapon, a bronze tip arrow will pierce them. King James says, he shall flee from the iron weapon, which is the missiles, and a bow of steel shall strike him through, which is the missiles, man. So America's cooked. They're done. So bring about this tip, man. Dragging your feet, but we know it's all according to the Most High's will. Okay, so let's continue on with this clip. I'm gonna go back a little bit and then continue.
Voluntary. Usually there's some kind of suggested coercion start this. Hey, we're not forcing you to do anything. They'll say something, the company, let's say, sometimes the government does this. Hey, we're not forcing you to do anything. We're just going to make your life really, really difficult until you comply. So these mandates, whether it's in the private sector or the public sector, are always suspicious when they start out supposedly voluntary. Usually there's some kind of suggested coercion behind it. So Representative Thomas is getting ahead of this problem. We commend her for it. And this should be a very popular bipartisan idea. It is certainly something that Washington Policy Center would support. And we'll see how that bill does. It also brings up this apocalyptic future of science fiction that you hear about, where people are being turned into robots or, advance and be mechanized. The more digital technology we have, the better. It's the first step to a brave new world. I know that this all sounds kind of over the top, but we have seen that ideas start out small and then they tend to grow. It reminded me from a policy point of view of the original thinking of the Social Security number that was enacted first in the 1930s. It only applied to people who were in the workforce, number one. And number two, the government only assigned you a Social Security number when you got your first job. So when you entered the workforce, you got a number. Well, here we are today in the modern world, and Social Security numbers are now issued mandatorily to every baby that's born in the United States. So it went from being a number for workers and for a social insurance program like Social Security to now it's our national identification number that applies to everybody. So I'm just explaining that that's the way these things grow, and we need to watch out. I'm not necessarily saying that Social Security numbers are bad. It's just that they start out small and then gradually expand, and by the way, become a mandate for everyone. So it's something to watch out for.
Yep, that's right. So let's finish up with this. 2 Thessalonians. Let's see. Let's get down to the point. Yeah, so let me start at 9. The whole thing is good, but I gotta roll out. So this is 2 Thessalonians 2 and 9. It says, this man in NLT will come to do, right? Saying this man is talking about Esau, Edom, and starting with the chief tribe, all right, of the nation of Edom is Amalek, okay, tiny tops. This man will come to do the work of Satan, right? Adverse. That's what they're doing. They're really doing the work of Satan, showing that they worship Satan, okay? With counterfeit power, right? It's technology, okay? And signs and miracles. He will, because when people take the chip, man, they're going to be able to do a lot of crazy things, amazing things, okay? But it's also not going to work. It's not going to be biocompatible, right? This is why it talks about the putrefying source, okay? Temporary, just like this man's blessing. It says, he will use every kind of evil deception to fool those on their way to destruction. But it says, because they refuse to love, and that's why I started off reading what I read in Jeremiah 7, okay? Because they refuse to love and accept the truth that will save them, so Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahushai will cause them to be greatly deceived, and they will believe these lies. You see? Then they will be condemned for enjoying evil rather than believing the truth. All right? This is why we constantly do these videos, updates on the mark of the beast, the Motb, so that those that are of the elect be not ignorant, which they won't, because it's already written, all right, of this man's devices, and be caught up with the destruction and the condemnation of the Heavenly Father when you take that trip. I think there's a little bit more, actually. Yeah. So anyways, actually, I do want to get this. I think it's 1 Thessalonians 2. Yes. Says 1 Timothy 5:1. But of the times and the season, brethren, it's talking to the elect, ye have no need that I write unto you, for you yourselves know perfectly that the day of the Lord Yahweh so cometh as a thief in the night. So we know, all right, Satan's gonna get the advantage over the majority of our people, even those that call themselves Israelites and call themselves so-called knowing the truth. Okay? Because why? They really were never rooted, all right? Their faith was never rooted in their relationship with Yahweh Shem Yahshua. So they're going to be overcome and they're going to succumb, so they'll be overcome. Okay. For when they shall say peace and safety, sudden destruction cometh upon them, as travail upon a woman with child, and they shall not escape. Okay. But ye brethren are not in darkness, that day should overtake you as a thief, and Tawadi Habashim Shah for the apostles and the bishops and elders, man, for teaching us this truth. Okay, for setting up our our elders, okay, and teaching us this truth, man. Ye are all the children of light and the children of the day. We are not the children the we are not of the night nor of darkness. Therefore, let us not sleep. Right? Also means sluggard. Don't be lazy. Do your lessons. Work out your own salvation with fear and trembling, man. And make sure above the lessons that you're exuding the character of Yahweh Shem Shah. He's the standard. Okay, Yahweh Shah is the standard. Therefore, let us not sleep as do others, but let us watch and be sober. Okay, focused. They that sleep, sleep in the night, and they that be drunken, right, are drunken in the night. But let us, who are of the day, be sober, putting on the breastplate of faith and love, and which is, ultimately this truth, the breastplate of faith. So, what are we to do? Build up our faith in these times, all right, while we still have the opportunity to do so, which is the grace period, and love, and which is, an actual word, obedience, and helmet, the hope of salvation. On our minds we should be constantly meditating about the kingdom, right? And all the the kingdom and the restoration of it, man. Because we're through, we're through right now. All right, but Kahala Yahweh Shemel Shah for this truth, and it's through His power and His Spirit and our faith in Him that we're going to continue, and we're going to get through this time and overcome Jacob's trouble. Yahweh Ratzah of the elect. Anyway, so with that, I'm going to close giving all praises and honor and glory to Yahweh Bahashim, Yahweh Shai Bahashim, Ruach Kadash. Double honors to the apostles, bishops, and elders of great millstone who rule well and have taught me this word in truth and sincerity. Peace and mercy to the hopeful elect, starting with the 144,000. That's also pushing this word in truth and sincerity across the four corners of the earth. All right, Lord willing, this lesson was straightforward and edifying to the hopeful elect. A ball, Kwame Mashallah and Shalom.